book, and please join me in welcoming Harrison Snow.
Thank you, Ingy. Thank you. And thank you, Jen, for the lovely prayers. And Lynn, what a fantastic song. Just very touching. And it's great to thank you. You're here, and what a blessing, what a gift. So thank you for coming and being together. Here we stand together in oneness and presence, and just the opportunity to develop, more community, deepen our sense of community and togetherness. So very grateful for that. So you've heard the phrase, we've all heard the phrase many times, change your thinking, change your life. And I heard that really when I was 16 and I first read the book by James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. Anybody know that book? A very classic book. And very intrigued me. And there were some thoughts there that Alan shared about changing your thinking, but it never seemed particularly easy to me. As it seemed easy, it's easy to Ingy, but I don't know. She's way ahead of all of us. Maybe she should be giving this talk. But it's never seemed particularly easy to me. And it's actually kind of been a lifelong quest, really. How do I really change my thinking and really help clients and organizations change their culture, change their reality? They have to change their thinking. So that's a pretty tall order. I've been involved in that for many, many years. Not only do I need to change my own when I go into a system and start understanding what's going on, but then how do I take that and help them change? Because any leader knows you have to be the change you want to see in others, right? Gandhi said something to that effect. You have to be that change. And how do you get to that change? Well, there's something about our thought process. Well, but looking at it, and I was really excited about this topic because I've been meditating since college. It's been in college I started. So 53 years ago, I started meditating every day. I've been doing it for a long time. And I've gotten to the place where it's pretty blissful, it's pretty quiet. And then I go out in the world and I start dealing with people and boom, the track, off I go from that blissful, peaceful place into some kind of reactive, lots of thoughts, and not all thoughts that I want to have place. So this is a real interesting topic to me. And they tell us we have 70,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts, 70,000, Now, how do you manage 70,000 thoughts, right? Well, you don't. They're just, the mind is just churning them out, and we kind of go about our business hardly paying attention to all those thoughts, right? But they are shaping our life. We know that. We know thoughts are attractive. We know thoughts of fear bring what we're fearful of. We know thoughts of lack create lack. We know thoughts of shame or anger or whatever can create sickness. So why are we letting those thoughts run along in the mind? I've kind of asked myself, I really don't want to be thinking these thoughts, and they can be kind of intrusive at times. Anybody kind of share that problem? I've that's been a lifelong quest. So as I've thought about this, and even though I've continued my meditation practice, I realized, there's something more. And yeah, there's mindfulness and all that, but there's something more I need to be doing here. So let me unpack this whole concept with you. And one way that I want to unpack it, if we could put up the first slide, is look a little bit about who's thinking these thoughts. Who's thinking these thoughts? What? There's a bunch of minds. It's not just one mind, but there's 5 minds involved in this process. And is a thought who we are? No, it's a thought. It's a thought about an experience is not the experience itself. It's something in the past or in the future. But the thought is not in the moment, in the now, because it's about the experience that you've had or you're going to have. So how real is a thought? Oh, and I'll share these slides. You don't have to take a picture. I'll share them too if you want. So how real is that thought if it's about something that hasn't happened or did happen, but we have thoughts about it. Who doesn't? Anyway, kind of an interesting thought to have if you think about the thoughts you're having. So really we've got the mind, the conscious mind, and that's experiencing those 70,000 thoughts, and that's really too much, right? The mind, conscious mind can handle 40 items per second of information, 40. Then you have your subconscious or unconscious mind at a deeper level that's below the threshold of awareness. Guess what it can handle? Supposedly 11 million units of information per second. That's a lot compared to the 40 that we can do consciously, all right? So if there's a decision to be made, the conscious mind has 9 or 9.5 votes. A subconscious mind has 9 votes out of 10, and your conscious mind has maybe 1 or half of a vote. You know, we don't really realize who's running the show. It's a lot of it, it's conditioning, stuff that happened in the childhood, or even at a lower level of subconscious, unconscious mind, the collective unconscious. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, where all these thoughts are coming from. And then, hey, we're metaphysicians, so what do? What do metaphysicians do? We pray. You know, we get past the noise of the mind, and we go and pray and meditate, go for the higher thought or the no thought at all. And where's that at? Now that's in the quantum consciousness, super consciousness, and then down at the quantum consciousness, a void place, the source of all thought, source of all life, of all phenomena, and it's empty and it's quiet, nothing happening there. And physicists have mapped this out. I don't know where it comes from, but they've mapped it out. So the question would be, if I'm caught up in thoughts I don't want to have, how do I have the thoughts that are generosity, joy, gratitude, that are going to create the life I have? How can I cultivate more of that and less of the other? Is that a question, a fair question? Yeah, okay. Well, here's a thought about it. I'll share a thought about it. Let's have the next slide. Well, we have our active and reactive minds, and they are running the show. What are those? That's the active mind, is our ego, imagination, reason, judgment of the conscious mind. And then we get something happens, somebody says something, it feels like they're being a little denigrative. Ever have that happen? Someone upsets you because they look like they don't, they're judgmental and they're blaming you, and you're like, hey, what did I do? And it happens to me. And then I get what? I get reactive. Like, that's not fair, and I'm upset, and it probably happened 10 years ago, and I'm still remembering it, thinking those kind of thoughts. Like, why am I not over this? But that's because we have a part of our mind in the conscious, subconscious area called the reactive mind. Now, its job, the reactive mind's job, is for us to survive. Right? Caveman, the bushes are rustling. It must be a tiger. Well, 9 times out of 10, or 199 times out of 100, it's not. It's a rabbit, it's a deer. But we go into reactive mode because that helped us survive. Fight, flight, freeze, faint, fawn, forget, filibuster, lots of talking, or fib, come up with some exaggeration or untruth. Those are the reactive states that are in the brainstem. We're not really thinking about them. They're automatic. They get triggered, and that mind is just doing its job to keep us alive. That worked great in caveman days. Not so great in these days, when we have all these philosophies and thoughts and people are espousing things, but we're taking it personally and getting reactive and going up some kind of escalatory ladder, accusation, counter-accusation. And it really isn't helpful. It's not our mature self driving the vehicle. It's that reactive mind. And that reactive mind may be coming from where? Well, in the subconscious, there's plenty of hidden beliefs, family of influences, conditioning, traumas, down even lower that we may not be aware of. And they're kind of like little sleeping dragons or dogs or whatever. They get woken up, we go into reactive mode, and we don't even realize it, what's going on. Okay? And to add to that, at the unconscious level, we've got ancestral influences, old archetypes, old stored trauma, collective unconscious. What's that? That's the impact of humanity in general, or groups in general. You can walk into an office, you can walk into a neighborhood, and what do you feel? You notice there's fear, anxiety, and what do you start to feel? Fear, anxiety, but we're picking up on the thoughts of others. It's not our own thought. It's other people's thinking and emotions, because our minds want us to know what's going on in the environment, the subconscious mind, and it can process 11 million units of information in a second. So we'll pick up on that at an unconscious level, subconscious level. And pretty soon we're thinking and acting thoughts of fear, anger, resentment, and so forth. Okay? Does that make sense? So it comes from two areas. One, in the group environment that we're in, especially if that's a traumatized, chaotic environment, and there's a lot of that going on today, or our own history, family history, personal history, ancestral history, that can tap into our reactive mind, and it goes into high alert and survival mode. So, what do we do about that? Unhappy state of affairs. We don't even know why we're so upset, why we're overreacting. So what can we do about it? Well, if you're like me, my favorite thing to do, next slide, is go into the source mind. And I'll go into like nature, go take a walk in the woods. And the trees, they're peaceful. And they radiate that peaceful energy. And the mountains, they radiate a beautiful, grounded energy. The rivers, the flowers, the bushes. Nature communicates to us, again on a very unconscious, subconscious level, the consciousness that it's made out of. And it's very peaceful. It's very lovely and expansive. And if you have a dog or kitty, cat, they're part of that too, that loving nature support. And we can draw from that. We can be resourced by that. And I go for a walk, and then I come back, and I wonder why I was so upset. Have you ever done that? Walks are great. Walks are great. Nature has a certain consciousness. I don't know how many of you have actually been on a safari, like in Africa, and there's the big five, like the elephant, the rhino, the hippo, the lion, and some other giraffe or some other animals. That consciousness of those big animals is palpable in the environment. You feel something different there. You don't feel petting a dog. There's something to it. So that's a reality there. Of course, spiritual mind treatment, we all know that. That's the more etheric resource we go to. We meet with a practitioner, we say prayers, we treat for this, and we may even may even ask help from the intangible side of life. And if you believe in it, the etheric side, the angels, archangels, deities of some sort, all that is, however you define higher power, however you define God, we pray and ask for help. So that shifts it. Then there's the pure consciousness domain. That's absolute being. That's something that you can contact through meditation. The sense of in the room you're in where there's no subject and no object. Like love. Love doesn't need an object or a subject. It just is. It's the fabric of existence. It's at the quantum mechanical level, perhaps. It just is an isness. And we can contact that, we can feel that, we can live from that place. It's there. It's not a theory. It's a reality. It's a definite reality. And it's non-duality. It's a sense of non-duality. And beyond that, where does that all come from? Where does all the other stuff, the superconscious, conscious, subconscious, comes from that quantum field that physicists tell us about, mystics tell us about, Buddha told us about, that emptiness, that nothingness. And that's accessible too. That's where all creativity flows out. Change flows out. So these are, we can move on from this. These are some states that are there. The real thing going on, I think, to remember with changing your thoughts, is to reflect and be aware of, hey, this is just my mind, my survival mind, doing what it's supposed to do, giving me survival thoughts. That's fine. I don't need to fight it. I don't need to suppress it. I just need to not change my thoughts, because that's what the mind does, that particular mind. I need to change my mind. Change your mind. And when you change your mind, you change your consciousness. And how do you change your mind? Well, go for a walk, connect with nature, go pray, go meditate, go talk to a friend who's in that state of pure awareness, and move your identity, our identity, from the reactive mind to the non-reactive mind. And we've got a bunch of them. We've got tremendous resources. We're just not aware of it. That's the real problem. Nobody trained us to say, hey, that's just your reactive mind talking. You don't have to listen to it. You don't have to identify with it. Those are thoughts. They are not you. And those thoughts are coming from some other place that you weren't even born when they were being generated. So notice them, but step away and tune your mind, switch your mind to a place that's non-reactive. That's all possibilities. That is that field of absolute love, absolute understanding, and absolute acceptance. Because when we're resisting, and I think this is in the quantum laws, of quantum creation laws, everything's coming from the quantum void as wave functions, and then our consciousness sees that wave function and creates something out of it, a reality out of that. But if we resist or we grasp a particular wave function or a particular particle that was created, that entangles us and keeps it around. And if we want it, then we don't get it. If we don't want it, then we do keep it. So what do we got to do? Let go of resistance. Let go of grasping. Total acceptance to what is. And then return to source. However you define source, return to source. And allow something new to emerge. Trust source. Trust the divine mind. Trust the Lord's thoughts are not your thoughts. So go, leave your thoughts and switch on over to the Lord's thoughts. That's trust. That's true worship. That's true divinity. So anyway, I hope these words have inspired you. And I want to ask, look around the room. At least everybody's still looking at me. Mostly awake. Any questions? Any comments to make it a little more interactive? Okay. Oh yeah, Dean in the back.
I love your presentation. It's fantastic. You compliment me on that so much. In the first part about the conscious mind, you have a whole bunch of things listed there, including ego, imagination, and all that. I'm not sure they're all equally weighted, and I was wondering what your thoughts might be on that. I've always sort of heard there's the ego, and then there's the other aspects, and if you can deal with your ego, you have much more control over your life. Because the ego is all these things
Right. Well, okay, Dean's question, if you couldn't hear, is what do you do with this ego? If you can control it, you have more control over your life. But is that the real issue here in the conscious mind? Is that what the biggest issue is? How important is ego? All right, well, many of the teachers that I've had, and I've been really blessed to have wonderful teachers over the years, say there is no ego. That's a construct, a social construct. There really is no individual. We are just pure consciousness. But it's the mistake of the intellect to think, oh, I'm these thoughts, and I'm these feelings, and I'm this ego that has to be protected. The ego is inherently a little insecure because it is a construct and it's always going to be based on the conditions outside it. It doesn't have an inherent reality, so inherently it's insecure. Inherently it's looking for the threat that's not there and over-responding to something that may seem like a threat, but it really isn't. So the whole idea in many spiritual philosophies is to transcend the ego and know your true self, know who you really are, which is this absolute pure consciousness, which embodies bliss, embodies love, embodies absolute intelligence, so that is living your life. Christ is living my life, however you want to put it, and not the egoic self, which is, in it for self-preservation. That's the short answer. Thanks for that question, Dean. Okay. One more question, and then we'll better wrap up because we're going over time. There you go. There you go. If you push that button. And the
There we
light comes
go.
on.
I really appreciated that, Harrison. You've given us a whole new slogan. Instead of change your thinking, change your life, I think it's going to be forget change your thinking, change your mind.
Yeah,
So
change your consciousness. Yeah.
very interesting. Also, I love the way you framed that biblical quote. I'm going to think about that differently from now on. So just appreciation.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Terry. Okay. Well, big hug, lots of love to everyone, and I'll be around after service. We can follow up. And here's Ingi to tell us a few more things. So thank you all.